Just like Michelangelo into the blue on heavenly wings. Cargo ham bones don't take off, no smoke, no mirror, no strings. I can't take off these dark shades. I can only say how it's too beautiful. Our town on TV. Our town, there's you and me. Upside down, hanging out of an airplane.
Welcome to Our Town. I'm your host, Larry Frost, and we're down here behind the Barking Dog to see a great show today. Today is Sunday, October 3rd, and there is 23 antique cars here. Some of them were built in Amesbury, but it is fantastic. It was a great turnout, and during the show, you'll actually see footage of the cars coming right through Amesbury. It was a fantastic time. So let's get on with the show. Hi, I'm with Tim Kelly from Connecticut. He'll talk about his car.
Hi, thank you. This is a 1907 Model K Ford. When Ford first started producing cars in 1903, they were two-cylinder, and then they ended up going to this six-cylinder car because of his investors. His investors wanted him to compete with the much larger American-made cars, but as a result of this, Ford bought out his investors and ended this car in 1908. So they made several hundred of them. There's only 16 known to exist today. There's a few spare parts, but of the 16 in existence, there's only 2 that are on the road. There's one in Australia and then this one here.
Thank you. First time in Amesbury, right?
First time in Amesbury.
And you love the town?
It's great to be here.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. On to the next car. Hi, I'm here with Jon Magnan from New Hampshire, and he's going to talk about his car.
This is a 1915 Model T Roadster pickup, which is, you can see on the back, I don't know if you can catch that or not, but there's a little pickup bed back there.
Oh, yeah.
You can take that off and put a little trunk, like a Roadster pickup, they call a Roadster bed on the back, not a Roadster, Roadster, looks like a trunk. Turtle deck, excuse me, it's called a turtle deck.
I wouldn't know either way.
No, okay. So it's a fun car. It has a lot of different accessories. Has a overhead valve setup, which is sort of an accessory back then, which increased the power of the car. Has a 2-speed rear end, and a distributor put on there. So there's a lot of improvements, but some were all authorized during that era.
Yeah.
And this car was put together by a fellow by the name of Ted Ashman from Tennessee, who actually wrote a lot of books and articles on Model Ts and stuff. So I'm quite fortunate to get a hold of this car. And
Oh, yeah.
it's a great little runner.
How long have you had it?
I've had it about a year and a half. And it just flies down the road and very nice. Enjoy it.
What size of cylinder does it use? Something like this?
Well, this is a very small cylinder. It's
Yeah.
only 4 cylinders.
Yeah.
It's based on 22 horsepower, but with the other things that I just described to you, the overhead valve setup, probably increases about 30% more. And then with the 2-speed rear end, plus it's a very light vehicle, okay? So it can go down the road pretty good. I mean, a good safe top speed is between 35 and 40.
Okay.
All right, it could go
That- that's
faster,
pretty
but you know, that for a Model T is the safest, because you remember you got wooden spokes, okay, and you got brakes that are on the transmission drum. Now on the rear wheel of these, we have what we call Rocky Mountain brakes, which is an external brake around the drum, which was an accessory back then.
Okay,
in the
yeah.
in the teens, and that increases, especially driving around today's traffic. You always need to stop. It's very important.
Would you have like single brakes in those days, so it wasn't like full wheel?
No, it was only on the transmission.
Only on transmission.
Only on
Oh.
the, it was. If you visualize 3 drums inside the transmission,
Yeah.
and there's 3 pedals in the car. The middle, excuse me, the pedal on the right, the brake pedal, would clamp around one of those drums.
Oh,
that was
okay.
your only brake.
Yeah.
There were no brakes on the wheels.
Except for your foot?
Well, you could drag your foot. You go through a lot of shoes that way.
Yeah.
But the accessory brakes, you'll see them on a lot of the Model Ts here, are really a necessity in today's travel.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Well, there's all sorts of things. There were a lot of different accessory companies that started up because of Henry Ford, and they supplied components to Henry, but there were also little accessory, horns, lights, like that little searchlight up there, accessories, the little headlight lenses there. See the little headlight
Yeah,
lenses?
yeah.
Stuff like
I
that.
was looking at the windshield wiper blade too.
Windshield wiper is a manual blade where
Yeah.
where you crank it by hand, basically. But so it's a real fun vehicle. And, I have 2 other Model Ts also, so I've had Model Ts since I was a kid, basically. And I just enjoy them, and the fact that this is an unusual car and has a lot of character
And charm.
And charm, yeah, yeah.
Its own identity. I mean, just stands right out
It does.
to you.
I mean, you don't see too many, and it's in the brass era. So a Roadster pickup of a later Model T would be a nickel or black shell, and it'd be all black, and then back pickup.
Oh, that's
end
right,
would
because any color but
Right.
except black was usually in the
Well,
old
that's not always true, but the pickup bed on the back would be metal. So this is really unique to the 1915 and the era and so forth. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
And congratulations. I like the jacket. What year?
Well, this is raccoon coat, obviously, which I wore this morning, and
Yeah.
when we started out, it was probably 39 degrees. So it gives me new respect for raccoons, because it is warm. It's very nice.
Thank you very much again. Have a nice safe trip. Hi, this is Fred, and we're going to talk about his 1908 Locomobile.
Yeah, this is a 1908 Loco Type E. It was the smallest, most inexpensive model that Locomobile built. They built this series from 1905 to 1908. This is the last year of it. And there's not too many left. This is the only 1908 known to exist.
Wow.
And it was extremely well-built car, very high-end and expensive for the time. The engine block is cast bronze, the whole transmission case is cast bronze, and all the major castings, they use bronze instead of aluminum or cast iron on this.
Yeah, 4-cylinder, right?
4-cylinder T-head, yeah. It's a small engine, it's 199 inches. They rated it at 17 to 20 horsepower.
Is there a top speed?
Don't know.
Yeah. I haven't. $3,500 was then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was quite a bit of money. It likes cruising 40, 45 miles an hour. It does real happy. It's got a 4-speed selective shift transmission, and It slows down on hills. You get to use all the gears if you go up a long hill. But it goes over the road real nice. Good drive.
This is beautiful. And how long have you said you had it?
I've had it for 25 years.
Not quite the original owner, but probably the longest
close
one.
to it, yeah.
Thank you very much, Fred. Have a great day. Thank you. We're here with Marsha Rising from Stowe, Massachusetts, and she'll just give a little description of the car.
This is a 1911 Model T touring car, Ford, and we've owned it about 8 or 10 years now, and it's a very steady driver. We just returned from a 1,400-mile circle tour in Wisconsin, and we drove the car the whole 1,400 miles with not an incident. It was really
better than today's cars.
Better than today's cars. But the important thing to remember is, as you look at these old cars, is that all of the cars of today had their birth with these cars back at the turn of the century. And there are some things on cars that are touted as being new now, like rack and pinion steering, but we have a 1905 Cadillac, single cylinder, that has rack and pinion steering. So it's really interesting, I think, to study the history of the early cars and then look at where they are now. This car is 1911. It's going to be 100 years old very shortly. And there are no cars today that are built that would last 100 years.
That is true. I shouldn't laugh, but that is
It's
true.
very true. I mean, you know, nowadays, if you can get maybe 5 or 10 years out of a car, you're lucky. So the people that drive these cars, you know, they love them. They lavish the attention on them, and they keep them running because this is true history, automobile
And the
history.
detail. I mean, the steering wheel.
And the steering wheel. Now, the Ford had the steering wheel and these cars on the left, but a lot of cars had the steering wheel on the right when they first started because they graduated from buckboards to carriages to the car. And if you remember, when you were in a buckboard or a carriage, you got out on the right side by the sidewalk to help people out of the car. So it was just a natural thing that some of the cars had their steering wheels on the right. And of course in Great Britain they still do. But Mr. Ford started putting them on the left, and that was
not just
it.
building the cars, but the whole trend. Yep.
Yep, that
the
was
mirror,
it.
different shape though. It's not the round. It's more like
No,
oval. Yep.
and there is a top that we can put up, and we have side curtains that we can button on if the weather gets really bad. But there are 4 coils in this box that provide the sparks to the engine. That's our speedometer, which isn't working right now. But it's very simple. We have a clutch pedal, a rear a brake, and the center pedal is for backing up. And if you want to go in first, you push the clutch all the way to the floor.
Okay.
If you want to go in high, you let it all the way back.
Like a motorcycle.
Halfway down is neutral.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you very
that's
much.
it. That's
This has
the
been
way
nice.
it goes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And good luck with your tour. Next car.
This is the best collection of old cars I have seen in years.
Bart Bailey, who's going to describe the car. This will be a third time that Bart's been on the show, but the information is really wonderful, so we'll let him go talk about it.
Basically, we chased the car back in 2004. The car had been given back to Venture Corporation in Seabrook, and they deacquisitioned it, the Henry Ford Museum. When they went out of business in 2004, I tried to get it then and thought I had it to get them to leave it in town. And last I knew, they packed up and moved. Thought the car was gone, so in 2008, I called the gentleman that I had been dealing with, and he said they were in bankruptcy, so we started over and were able to buy it and get it. And once we got it, we brought it back to town, and this is where it is.
Is it great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather?
Colonel Bailey was my great-grandfather that built this car, and it was his father, SR, that started the Bailey Company, which started with sleighs and carriages. Went to the electric car, and after the electric car and the gasoline engine came in, they went to making automotive parts, window channelers.
And this car has quite a history, Mount Washington. You can go through that. Please do it. We really have to tell you this.
Thomas Edison used this car, not this particular one, but a Bailey Electric, to develop his batteries. And they also did a bunch of test drives with it, and one of them included a trip through New England, and in part of the trip it climbed Mount Washington. Another one of the test drives was Boston to Chicago and back, and just to prove what it could do and not do. They advertised it 100 miles on a charge on the battery, which is no different than today's 100 miles of what they advertise. But back then, 100 miles must have been harder because of no pavement, dirt roads, mud, etc.
Wooden wheels.
Wooden wheels. But everything on this is 100% original. Everybody looks at it, chip paint, this and that. A lot of people tell me you can always restore it, but you can never put it back to the original. And so right now we've just kind of left it and we let it go at that.
Now, will this be going to the Carriage Museum eventually if we get running?
If we can get a Carriage Museum going and I can keep my kids from selling it, yes, it will. No, it will. It'll eventually be. It's on display now, pretty much. I'm creating quite an office and room full of memorabilia, and people come by all the time. So.
So is it open to the public or is it private? Kind of?
People usually come by or give me a call, and I just tell them I'm going to be in my office in the afternoons, and they stop in and take a look, especially old Bailey Company employees that are in the area, and they all have a sentimental value, so they all want to come and see it. So.
Your grandparents will be proud, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I will give you those other shows. On to another car. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
it?
In the garage.
What is it? I know, but what is it?
20 horsepower.
You want to get some facts about it? 20 horsepower? David, don't leave yet. This is a good friend of mine, Phil, who's going to tell us a little bit about the car. This is his first car, though.
This is not my first car. This was my uncle's car.
What year is it?
1923. More 1923 Fords were made than any other car ever. Yep, 2.6 million. 20 horsepower.
Maybe I shouldn't lean on it. Well, that's it for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a wonderful day to see some wonderful antiques as they're leaving. So, Larry Frost from our town, work hard, stay healthy, and please take time to care for someone. We're out of here.
Just like Michelangelo into the blue, on heavenly wings. Cargo ham bones don't take off, no smoke, no mirror, no string. I can't take off these dark shades, I can only say how it's too beautiful. Our town on TV, our town, there's you and me. Upside down, hanging out of an airplane.